In this video, we continue our discussion on Chapter 9, in which we go over profits, where in our last video we examined an example of a perfectly competitive market in order to study its equilibrium as well as how price was determined for an individual firm. Where in regards to today, we now seek to examine how firm entry and firm exit in the perfectly competitive market will affect profits by considering some preliminaries in order to allow us to discuss profits. So to begin with our preliminaries, through our assumptions for perfect competition, as well as for constructing market demand and market supply, we have seen price and quantity level determination for the market, in which we have our crop market below, price on the vertical axis, crop quantity on the horizontal axis. Our market was comprised of 4 agents, that was 2 consumers as well as 2 firms, where product demand for our 2 consumers allowed us to construct crop market demand, which we see in blue and is downward sloping, giving us the inverse relationship between price and quantity, and product supply for our 2 firms that was constructed from marginal cost curves allowed us to construct crop market supply, which is upward sloping, giving us the positive relationship between price and quantity, where the intersection of the two gives us market equilibrium, in which there's no excess quantity demanded nor excess quantity supplied, and gives us the unique price point and unique quantity level that is compatible with buyer and seller intention, where in our example this was at a price point of 5 and the quantity level of 44. Where through this allowed us to also examine price and quantity level determination for an individual firm, which we have here on the right hand side in terms of our graphical representation. Price on the vertical axis, crop quantity on the horizontal axis. Through a market equilibrium, we know that quantity levels can be 44 in terms of overall crops produced and sold, and in terms of our price points can be at 5. Given that our 2 firms in the market are price takers, they then price their crops at a price point of 5, which corresponds to their marginal revenue curve, which is going to be constant given our horizontal line. And given their cost structure and its rate of change, we have a marginal cost curve, which corresponds to their short run product supply curve, which is upward sloping due to diminishing marginal returns, where the intersection of marginal cost and marginal revenue will give us our profit maximizing bundle in terms of a price point of 5, and our quantity level of production in terms of 22 units for the individual firm, given that they are price takers, so the price is 5, and since there's 2 firms in the market and they face identical production and identical costs, production for each firm will then be half of the overall market since there's 2 firms. So then, based off of this, where in regards to our market, we can then use our toolkit that we developed in Chapter 3, as well as for consumer theory, as well as the theory of the firm, in terms of changes in demand, as well as for changes in supply, in order to examine equilibrium changes, where we will use the latter to see how firm movement in the market alters market equilibrium and what the overall effect will be on a firm in regards to its profit maximizing decision and what the effect will be on that firm for its profits. So, given the price level determined in our market, we see that a firm in our market is currently generating a profit, given that we have our crop market below. Intersection of crop market demand and crop market supply gives us equilibrium, the unique price point and unique quantity level compatible with buyer and seller behavior. That price point is going to determine the marginal revenue curve for the firm. We once again have our upward sloping marginal cost curve. The only thing different here now is that we incorporate our average total cost curve, which is U-shaped, in that it's downward sloping when average fixed cost is dominant, and it is upward sloping when average variable cost is dominant. Incorporating this, we can then see if the firm is generating a profit, breaking even, or incurring a loss. We're at our profit maximizing bundle of marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. We see that marginal revenue, which is equal to price, is strictly greater than average total cost, where recall that total profits can be calculated as the difference between price and average total cost scaled by total quantity. So price minus average total cost will give us profits per unit, where here we see that marginal revenue is equal to price is strictly greater than our value of average total cost since it's higher up in terms of our graphical representation. So we have a positive profits per unit. Scaling that by overall quantity, we see that we have positive economic profits incurred by this representative firm, or in this case, both of our firms in our market. So then, with this information, given that our market is capable of generating positive economic profits, existing firms in other markets observe the positive profits, where since by assumption there are low barriers to entry, new firms will enter the market for our crops. Where with new firm entrants, this corresponds to a change in a non-price determinant of market supply, such that we'll have a rightward shift in this case of market supply. So here we have our crop market. Intersection of crop demand and crop supply gives us equilibrium. There's new firms entering, so we have a rightward shift in the market supply curve, where with this rightward shift, after adjustment, we arrive to a new equilibrium, where due to this rightward shift in market supply, price for crops has decreased, where quantity in terms of crops has increased. Where due to this new equilibrium and this reduction in price and higher quantity levels for our good, this then corresponds to a change in the marginal revenue curve for an individual firm. Since they are price takers, they take the price as given, which was determined in the market, which has been reduced. With a reduced price rate, this then corresponds to a reduction in the marginal revenue curve, which we see as we have a downward shift from marginal revenue in green to marginal revenue 1 in red. So then in terms of our new profit maximizing bundle, this is going to be when marginal revenue 1 intersects marginal cost. Where at this profit maximizing bundle, we see that we have a reduced quantity level in terms of what's being produced by this representative firm, but also in terms of profit calculation, we see that marginal revenue is still above our average total cost curve, such that profits per unit is positive, or that total profits is going to be positive as well. So then, with positive economic profits still existing, this process of firm entrance will continue until the price is pushed down to the minimum value of average total cost. So here we have a continuing example from what we saw on the last slide. We had our initial shift from market supply to market supply 1, and for a firm, our initial downward shift from marginal revenue to marginal revenue 1. Since economic profits still exist, this incentivizes new firms, since there's low barriers to enter into the market. So then with further firm entrance, we have an additional rightward shift from crop market 1, or crop market supply 1 to crop market supply 2, where once this market adjusts to a new equilibrium, when compared to our previous equilibrium and our initial equilibrium, we see that we have a further reduction in price and a further increase in crop quantity. What this effect will have is, since our firms are price takers, they take the price in the market as given, so this will be a reduction in their pricing strategy, leading to a reduction in their marginal revenue curve. So they go from marginal revenue 1 in red to a further reduction in marginal revenue to marginal revenue 2 in orange. So then in terms of their profit maximizing decision, it's going to be at the intersection of marginal revenue 2 and marginal cost, where now we see that marginal revenue is equal to average total cost at our profit maximizing rate. So then the difference between price and average total cost is going to equal to 0, or profits per unit is 0. Scaling that by quantity, we have total profits equaling 0 for our representative firm, or for all firms in our market. So then when the price is pushed down to the minimum value of average total cost, firm profits will be 0. Where with 0 economic profits, this ceases incentives for firms to enter into the market. Using this information, this also then allows us to distinguish between a short-run equilibrium and a long-run equilibrium for firms as well as for overall market, given a perfectly competitive market structure. And we can do this based off of profit levels, where a short-run equilibrium for a perfectly competitive market structure is going to be when price is equal to marginal revenue, which is equal to marginal cost, which will allow for firms in our marketplace to be generating a positive economic profit, or could be incurring a loss should price be less than average total cost, but greater than average variable cost. And we saw the case in our initial example of when they were incurring positive economic profits, in which price was strictly greater than average total cost from when we were going from marginal revenue to marginal revenue 1. And then when we reached marginal revenue 2, that's when we reached a long-run equilibrium, or when price is equal to marginal revenue, which is equal to marginal cost, which is also equal to minimum average total cost, where at this profit maximizing rate, since price is equal to average total cost, profits per unit is 0, such that overall profit levels is going to be 0 as well. And with 0 economic profits, this deters new firm entrants as well as firms from leaving the marketplace as well. Where graphically, let us now take a look at the short-run equilibrium for a firm as well as a long-run equilibrium for the firm in this perfectly competitive market structure. Where on the left we have our short-run equilibrium, and on the right we have our long-run equilibrium. On the left we have marginal revenue in green, upward sloping marginal cost curve, and we have our U-shaped average total cost curve as well. Profit maximization occurs when marginal revenue intersects marginal cost. Given that marginal revenue is strictly greater than average total cost, price is greater than average total cost as a result, such that there's positive economic profits. Given that profits per unit is positive, and given this, there's incentives for firms to enter into the market. Given that an individual representative firm is incurring profits. Now comparing this to the long-run equilibrium for a firm in our perfectly competitive market structure, we have, similar to what we saw before, we have our upward sloping marginal cost curve, our U-shaped average total cost curve, and we have our marginal revenue curve. But here our marginal revenue curve is intersecting both our marginal cost curve and our average total cost curve. This is once again because our equilibrium is going to be price, or marginal revenue, is equal to marginal cost for our profit maximizing condition. And since we're intersecting average total cost at its minimum, this means price is equal to average total cost, or zero profits per unit, or zero overall economic profits for this representative firm. So then, with this information, it thus follows when price is greater than average total cost, it'll be the case that positive economic profits exist, such that new firms will want to enter into the marketplace. Whereas when price is equal to average total cost at a profit maximizing condition, it'll be the case that there's zero economic profits, such that no new firms will want to enter into the market, and existing firms in the market will not want to exit. Whereas we can use this intuition to then conclude that when price is less than average total cost, but greater than average variable cost, such that the firm is incurring a loss but can pay for their production process, they will be incurring losses such that they would want to reduce capacity. Whereas when price is less than average total cost and less than average variable cost, such that the firm is incurring a loss but cannot pay for their production process, firms will be incurring a loss and firm exit will occur. Where overall then, cases 1 and 3 lead to a short-run equilibrium for a firm, in that price is equal to marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, in which there's positive economic profits or losses being incurred. Whereas case 2 leads to a long-run equilibrium for a firm, in that price is equal to marginal revenue, equal to marginal cost, equal to minimum average total cost, such that there's zero economic profits, which satisfies our assumption for a perfectly competitive market structure that we saw in video 1. And then lastly, we have case 4, in which this leads to the shutdown condition for a firm, which we described in our last chapter. So then where we would like to conclude today is make some notes on a long-run equilibrium, where for a long-run equilibrium in a perfectly competitive market structure, it will prevail unless there is a change in equilibrium due to a change in market demand, corresponding to a change in product demand, due to a non-price determinant of product demand changing from our consumers, or to a change in equilibrium due to a change in market supply, due to technological changes, or due to production costs changing that the firm faces. Or overall, in this long-run equilibrium, due to zero economic profits, the overall profit incentives that firms have thus then generates the need for innovation or for a means of finding a way to reduce their production costs in order to try to obtain profits once again.